Hey, welcome back, everyone. Last week we talked about protein, and this week, since we're in the month of January, we want to talk about how to prepare for a detox. Because a lot of you may be wondering what is the best way to start a detoxification process. So, without further ado, Jennifer, let's get into this popular topic.
Yeah, I think it's a great one.
Oh, yeah. So, if somebody comes to you and they say, Jennifer, for the last really for my whole life, I've been eating the standard American diet, and I really want to try a juice fast. Do you think it's okay if I just go cold turkey and from a McDonald's Big Mac, and then tomorrow I'm going to just go right to a juice fast? What would you tell them?
That is probably going to be a little too harsh for their body.
Yes,
Yes, you talk
slightly.
about flu-like symptoms. You might even feel like you're dying there.
Go to the emergency room.
Yes, yes, yes,
Oh,
yes, yeah. So the first thing I do is tell people, let's first taper you off the standard American foods, especially processed foods. If you're eating fast food, then definitely eliminate that. Maybe even get into mono meals. That can be kind of boring for some people, but it's definitely a good way to clean up the diet first before you go into a juice fast. Now, if you are really, really sick, and then sometimes that may be you may just have to go right in. You're just
yeah,
knowing, you're going to feel pretty bad. Um, but sometimes, if you're in a very serious situation. Now, disclaimer, this is not medical advice. We are only educators here. We do not diagnose, treat, or prescribe. And the information we're sharing today, make sure it sits right with you. Do your own research. We're two people. Do your own research before you do any of these methods. But for me, I always taper people off of these standard American foods, eliminate processed foods, eliminate sugar, eliminate caffeine. A lot of times people think caffeine is going to be the hardest, but it's actually the sugar. Sugar is really, really difficult for people. And you don't realize how much sugar you're eating. If you're a hamburger bun, to your body is sugar. And so people think, I don't eat a lot of sugar, but they eat sandwiches or pizzas or pasta. And all of those are made out of flours, which are treated as sugar in your body. And so you may not be adding extra sugar to your foods and drinks, but you're still taking in a lot of sugar, and limiting those can be really hard on the body, the way it activates your brain and things like that. And so first we'll eliminate things like that, and then we'll transition into more like a juice cleanse. Now, I do like the 3-day juice cleanse like Dr. Christopher recommended. I actually am doing a juice cleanse right now. World Cleanse Week or something like that. It starts on Monday, and I have something conflicting with that. And so I'm doing mine a little bit early. Anyway, what do you do when clients come in to see you?
well, the first thing is we look at. I want to see what they're eating currently, and sometimes we try to find alternatives. Say if they like hamburgers, we try to find a veggie burger that they might like to begin with, because, and this is like you're saying, if they're not sick, but they want to transition.
Mhm.
And, there's a lot of good recipes for veggie burgers on, but you can find, but if the individual is busy or they're not ready to cook yet, there are some decent commercial veggie burgers. But you can find alternatives for a lot of things now, especially it's not health food, but there are a lot of vegan alternatives now for transitioning, because some people, it's really hard if you go from a Big Mac to, I don't know, eating beans and broccoli. Most people aren't going to be able to do that initially.
Mhm.
So we slowly get them off the bad foods, and eventually they will learn to crave vegetables. I know you may not believe that right now, but you will eventually crave vegetables.
Yes. Yeah. When I travel, oh
Yeah,
my gosh, and I'm out of my routine, it's like all of a sudden I'm like, I need some broccoli.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's all about what we train ourselves to like, really.
Right, right. And I was a big meat eater before. And so I completely relate. And you're right. So there are definitely some alternatives that you can transition into that tastes good, but we
Yeah.
have to look at them as transition foods. Like you can buy vegan cheeses in the
Yeah.
grocery store, and a lot of them do taste like cheese. And it's been so long for me. They taste more like cheese than they did when I first transitioned. But if you look at the ingredients on those cheeses, I mean, they have, 15, 20 different ingredients, and that's not healthy. So it can
Oh
help
yeah.
you make this, the steps towards healthier eating, to think of them as temporary foods as you
Uh,
transition into a whole food, plant-based. But there are a lot of those things that are available.
oh yeah. And if you, I mean, of course, if you can do it without them, I would recommend that. But maybe a transition of 2 or 3 weeks. But I always tell people, they'll ask me now because there's so many products, are those healthy? I'm like, no, they're not healthy, but they're probably healthier than your Big Mac.
Yes,
They don't have any cholesterol in them. Your cholesterol will start to go down some, but
right.
ideally, what we want to be eating are whole grains, kind of, and we want to get most of our calories from vegetables and fruits, in my opinion, and then some nuts and some beans thrown in there for good measure. And I like fresh juices, but you have to get a juicer.
Well, you can use a blender and
Yeah.
blend it really well and then strain it. I do have some people
Oh
that will
yeah.
do that. But I had one of the really inexpensive juicers. I don't know, I don't know what they're called, Hamilton Beach or something like that.
Yeah.
That was my starter one. It was like less than $50,
Yeah.
and it worked great.
Yeah.
And then I decided to upgrade. So I got one that was, I don't know, maybe $300. And I actually missed my cheap juicer. And so if you're just starting out, don't go all out and spend $1,000 on a juicer.
No.
Just get the one you can afford. Use it for now. If you like juices, you get into the habit of using juices, then plan on making the investment in a more expensive juicer. But a lot of times people will go into juicing and then they'll go, this isn't for me. And then, I mean, you can find juicers on eBay and everywhere else used because people don't stick with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now I do like juicing seasonally. Right now it's not really the right time for me. I'll be doing it again in a few months, actually. I'm just doing it because it's the Worldwide Juice Week, but I will be in my program. We do juice in my create in the winter and in the summer, but I do like to juice seasonally just to help cleanse, which I think we talked about in an episode a few weeks ago.
So what other aids do you use with your clients as far as when the cleansing goes? Do you use any herbs or anything else?
Yes. I use a lot of different herbs and different tools, which I think we'll talk about in another episode. But I also look at different foods and herbs to help with the cleansing process, because you need lots of B vitamins and vitamin C and a lot of protein just for detox to even happen. And so people hear that and they're like, well, how do you get the protein if you're juicing? You have to juice greens. If you juice greens are so high in protein. Listen to our last episode where we talk about protein. But you need those different amino acids, and some are essential and some are non-essential, meaning that your body will make them, but you have to give your body the precursors for that. And so vitamin C is very important. All your raw fruits and vegetables are going to give you vitamin C. The B vitamins, which are going to be in a lot of your greens, they're mostly in beans and sprouts, which we may not have in our juices, unless you juice sprouts. I haven't done that. But I do add greens as in herbs, cilantro, parsley. Parsley is high in so many different vitamins and minerals. Nettle, stinging nettle, one of the highest in vitamins and minerals. Juice some kale, very high. Collards, any of those cruciferous vegetables, they're going to give you a harshness. I don't know how do you describe that? Almost like a peppery taste, those cruciferous vegetables, but you can make it a little bit milder by throwing in cucumber. Now, no, Dr. Christopher recommends mono
Yeah.
meal or mono juices where you stick to only one all day. Like you could have carrot juice, diluted carrot juice all day long, or diluted apple juice all day long. Those are very high in your enzymes, which help. I also like to use milk thistle. Milk thistle is wonderful for the liver. It's specific for the liver. But before all of that, which we didn't talk about preparing for the detox, we haven't talked about the cleansing method, like using the lower bowel formula,
Right.
making sure we do talk about it in all of our episodes, but we need to make sure that the pathways are open so that you're eliminating correctly. We want to make sure that everything's being excreted through the urinary tract and the colon. But then we also need to work our way up, meaning make sure the kidneys are clean and the liver is clean as well. And so I do like to start people on those formulas first before a juice fast as well. I don't know if you do that.
Yeah, we didn't talk about, we skipped over that. Yes, best to transition then to a plant-based diet and put them on the lower bowel formula. And it's good for the person to start having at least 2 bowel movements a day before we start putting, more intense detoxification like juices, because juices really start to deep cleanse the body. And if you are not going to the bathroom, those toxins are just going to recirculate. They have to
Right.
come out,
And they get worse and worse each time. When chemicals go through the liver, the first stage kind of, well, it depends. If it recognizes it, has time to process it, then it actually will make it a little bit more harsh and then go into phase 2 and make it safer to move through the body. Well, if it does that and then it sits in your colon too long, it gets reabsorbed, but now it's in a more harsher form. It's more dangerous actually. And then that goes back into your blood, into your liver, and then you have a buildup of a more toxic substance in the liver, and it can actually make it harder. If your liver is handling too many things at one time, it can't do all of that at one time. It's going to start wrapping it mucus and stuff it in the liver, which can lead to a whole nother host of problems. So yes, we want to make sure that the eliminatory pathways are open before we begin this cleansing process so that as those things come out, they get out of the body.
Yeah, good point. How long? I mean, I remember Dr. Schultz said that he would put his people on the colon cleanse for a month or two before he would go any farther with them, because I mean, most people are constipated, and a lot of people like, no, I'm not. Well,
Yeah, well, I think they go regularly.
yeah,
What
yeah.
I go 2-3 days a week, every
Oh,
week. And so they think that's fine. Well, no, you need to go every time you eat a large meal. You eat a
yeah,
large meal, the stomach expands, the nerves are sent down to the ileocecal valve to open and move things along. And a little while later, you have the urge to go. So every time you eat a large meal, your stomach should expand, and that should be happening. Just like with the baby, you feed a baby, you have to go change its diaper shortly after. You're training a puppy, you feed the puppy, I need to go out. We need to go for a walk after this meal. That's how our bodies are supposed to work. But as I think it was Dr. Schultz that talked about this, we train to hold it. We get trained not to go to the bathroom. You have to hold it in school. You can't go during class. You can only go during the bells, but then you have the timing and all of that, or it's embarrassing to go to the bathroom. You have a work environment where it's too difficult to get to the bathroom, or you're under so much pressure. I don't have time to go to the bathroom right now. And so we just hold it, hold it, hold it. And we lose those signals in the intestines to move things along, and things get backed up, which is why you need to do these cleanses. I think Dr. Christopher said, all disease begins in the gut.
yeah,
And so we need to cleanse. Now, I know you've done some extended juice cleansing. Am I correct?
yeah.
I have never done more than 3 days. And so I'm not sure what I'll do this time. I'll do the 3 days. Next week I have my rainbow challenge, and then maybe I'll pick it back up and do longer, but I'm not sure. I know a lot of people will do the extended juice cleanse to help remove the mucosal, am I saying it right? The mucus plaque.
Yeah.
I've
Mhm.
never experienced that, but I know a lot of people have. What was your experience on the extended fast?
Well, here's the thing where people, for anybody who thinks they're not constipated, I did a 95-day juice fast, which means I did not have any solid foods for 95 days. It was juice with no pulp. and I still had a bowel movement every single day for the whole entire course. Okay. Now I
Mhm.
was taking the bowel herbs, but you kind of have to keep everything going.
Right.
And I mean, I'm not trying to be disgusting here, but once you start getting, I say after a few weeks, the stools start to sometimes they're like really black, and they
That's what I
smell
heard.
horrible.
Mhm.
This is proof that there's old fecal matter in the body, like Dr. Christopher said. There's
Mhm.
old fecal matter. The body stores it.
Mhm.
And I've heard all these, well, but I went and got a colonoscopy and the doctor said there's nothing up there and it's clean.
Mhm.
But not from my experience. And anybody else who does a extended juice cleanse, they will have bowel movements every single day. Now, where is that coming from? Because we're not having solid foods.
Right. There's no
I don't
fiber
think
in
I
there.
had necessarily any big plaques come out, but sometimes, I mean, even sometimes I would see like little tiny parasites come out.
I've heard that too, like flukes. Yeah,
Yeah,
I think Dr. Christopher said it was almost like the lining of a bicycle tire.
yeah,
Just the black rubber tube. And I've heard some other practitioners say that as well. That they experience that.
it's
That it's kind of
amazing.
horrifying, but then you feel so good afterwards. It's like we're removing the block between the intestines and nerve endings and where you can absorb foods. If you have those plaques in there, then vitamins and minerals and things are not getting through into your bloodstream the way that they should be.
Exactly. And after you get all the toxin, all the plaque removed from the colon, you usually require less food because the body absorbs more of the food that you're eating.
Hmm.
Because a lot of the food, our body can't absorb it. I mean,
Right, right. And then if you're eating poor quality food too, then you have less to absorb on top
yeah,
of not being able to absorb it. Yes, and those poor quality foods also change the whole microbiome so that you aren't absorbing the right things too. And so it's a vicious cycle. So it's very important. So let's recap. So when someone comes and they need to, maybe they have a chronic illness, or maybe they're just wanting to make sure that they live to 100 healthy and strong. So someone comes and they want to do a cleanse or a fast, then the first thing we do is put them on plant-based diet. And so we didn't talk about that, but plant-based, because it's very low acid forming. You can get all the amino acids and vitamins and minerals that your body needs, off of all processed foods, sugar and caffeine and inflammatory foods, so that your body is feels gentle and able to cleanse and eliminate properly. We also put them on things like the lower bowel formula. Not recommending. I want you to do your own research, but there are several different practitioners that have herbal products that contain things like Sakara, Sagrada, and aloe vera, and things like that that are gentle to the system and not addictive, and also don't make it where you have to run to the bathroom. A lot of times when people start on these different things, they have to stay on them. And so we want you to be on an herbal product where you don't have to stay on it for life. You just have something gentle to move things along. Um, so we want to start them on things like that, plant-based diet, and then do a 3-day juice fast to help cleanse from there. Now in Dr. Christopher's program, and actually in mine too, even with my juice, I do add some oil in there. I know that I said that I don't like oils, but I do think it's important to include a little bit of oil and a something citrus to help with the bile ducts. We want to make sure we're lubricating the bile duct, which is important for breaking down proteins and fats in the body. And so I do include those in my juice fast. And Dr. Christopher even included things like apple cider vinegar and molasses for extra vitamins and minerals, because those are important for the cleanse. And what would you like to add to that, Daniel?
I also like to add in a herbal vitamin formula like bottle herbs or superfood, or you can make your own. And sometimes I mean, I don't know how you feel about yeast, but some of the fasts they also add yeast because it's got a lot of I know it's synthetic,
Hmm.
But another thing I like to add is what is it called? Basically it's vegetable broth. You make your own vegetable broth and you drink
Bouillon.
it. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
because it gives you a lot of potassium. That's what
Mm-hmm.
I did when I did a long juice cleanse. I did juice and I did vegetable broth to make, and I did the herbal vitamins to make sure my body got everything it needed to throw off, because you, like you're saying, you have to have the amino acids and the vitamins for the body to detox. So I recommend all those things.
I know the last time I did a juice fast like this, it's like I craved something like a soup. And
Yeah,
so I did make a broth,
yeah,
just to help satisfy that craving. My family wasn't going through it with me. And so I would sit down with them while they ate dinner, and that can
yeah,
be difficult. And so I would make a broth. So at least I'm eating my soup while you're having your spaghetti or whatever.
yeah, yeah. It actually tastes really good when, when you're on a juice fast. The warm broth tastes really good. It's like a
Yes.
treat.
Yes. And a lot of herbal teas.
Yes.
Like right now I'm drinking ginger tea. I'll have some green tea. There are some components in green tea that are also helpful. I'll have it this morning because it does still have a little bit of caffeine, and caffeine can be, depending on your genetics, can be hard on the liver, but I will have a little bit of green tea and ginger tea. And then I have some other herbal teas. I like to have like nettles and red raspberry, those that are very high in vitamins and minerals.
Sounds great.
Yes. So I think that can wrap it up for us, how to prepare for a cleanse. Next week, we'll talk more about cleansing tools and methods to help with cleansing. So please join us for that episode. Comment and let us know how you feel about our podcast. Let us know what other topics you would like to hear as well. Thanks for joining us.